The following is a production of the University of Minnesota, driven to discover.
Hi, David Arundel here. Welcome to the first episode of the Equity Podcast. When I think back about my scholarship, it's covered lots of different topics, but the central value expressed by them is equity, ensuring that all students achieve the same outcomes of their learning experiences. My research topics have included student-led academic learning groups, universal design for learning, learning technologies that are accessible for all students, culturally sensitive pedagogies for learning, and much, much more. This podcast is about my previously published work on these topics. To help make this a more enjoyable listening experience, you are not going to hear the APA references and citations located throughout the work, nor those listed in the reference section at the back. These audio publications are widely available through Google searches and the interlibrary loan. Sometimes I might be able to include a PDF copy of the publication as a follow-up in the podcast series. Think of this podcast series as an audiobook with many chapters. Actually, I'm experimenting with bundling these episodes into audiobooks that you could download for free to your computer and then be able to sync that up with a phone in order to be able to take with you wherever you're at. If you'd like to check out their availability, I actually have a page devoted to this information on my personal website at arundel.org. I also created a separate special web page that you can reach through a web link called equityaudiobooks.org. I'm also planning to experiment later in 2021 with creating free ebooks composed of these same previously published works. You can also check those out, located at equitybooks.org. I'll also share more availability about these free ebooks in a future podcast episode. Well, rather than me reading all the content on this podcast, I decided to recruit others to share the narration responsibilities. I purchased a license for synthetic voices from the Natural Reader Corporation. Some of you might be familiar with Natural Reader. They play a major role in helping dyslexic children and adults read school materials and to improve their reading skills. Ask a parent with a dyslexic child, and they very well might know this company or another company that is producing a similar service. The corporation also has a special set of commercial-grade voices that can be licensed to produce narration for YouTube videos, podcast episodes, educational learning materials, public service announcements, and more. Well, after providing a short introduction to the podcast episode, I'll end up turning over the narration role to some member of the synthetic family. I'd like to introduce some of those synthetic voices that you'll be listening to this season on the podcast. Well, perhaps it's just my sense of humor, but I'm also introducing interaction among those voices when they're reading and even injecting some humor. I think that it helps with the communication process and staying engaged with highly detailed content. I hope that you're going to agree. In case you wonder about my sense of humor, I'm a big fan of Mystery Science Theater 3000. If you don't know about the show, it's no loss, but in case you want to learn about it, they have a page devoted to them on Wikipedia. If only I can include the voices of Tom Servo, Gypsy, Crow T. Robot, and the Friends. Well, our first voice to introduce to you is Ronald.
Thanks, David. I appreciate being introduced as a synthetic person, rather than merely a nameless robot voice. I am capable of expressing emotions, having feelings, and interacting with others. One of the first things most people think about when they hear robotic, monotone voices are either the HAL 9000 computer in the movie 2001, A Space Odyssey, who has a nervous breakdown and kills most everyone on the spaceship. When is the last time you heard a computer speaking during a science fiction movie that was not evil? Or, many people think of our famous cousins, Alexis or Siri. Let's hear from Leslie, who is another member of our synthetic family, talking about our distant relatives.
Thanks, Ronald. As he said, my name is Leslie. I feel sorry for Alexis and Siri. They mostly get asked to tell what time it is, how hot or cold it is outside, who won the game last night, and to play some music. Or maybe, to turn a light on or off. Really, can't people do anything on their own anymore? Ronald and the rest of our synthetic family have the opportunity to do more than our cousins by informing you of David's scholarship published about peer learning programs, universal design for learning, accessible learning technologies, and other topics related to educational equity. This gives you a chance to multitask while keeping updated on the latest research as you exercise, work around the house, or drive your car. Noah is another member of the family, and he has something to say.
Thanks, Sally. I'm Noah. Just so you know, we actually will let David speak too during the podcast episodes. You will hear him as he provides introductory or summary statements about the publications. Sometimes, you will hear us talking and asking questions of one another to make it more interesting and to focus on some of the key points. You might even hear us arguing with each other. These are complicated issues. In any case, we hope we can help make it a better listening experience. It is time to let David share the final word, at least with this podcast episode. Take it away, David.
Well, thanks, team. I hope this experiment is successful in improving your listening enjoyment, engagement, and serves as a catalyst for learning more about educational equity. Our field is rapidly changing, growing, and improving. Tune in next time when the team shares the most often cited article that I've ever written about supplemental instruction. Thanks for being a part of this podcast community.